Hello everyone, I welcome you all to today's topic Decodified session. Today we are going to talk about the Russian withdrawal that has been announced from the International Space Station or abbreviated as ISS. We shall be looking at this news in the following sequence: why it is in news, about space station, about ISS, about ROSS, and followed by the prelims and mains based practice questions for you all. But before that, I want you all to be informed about the Mains 8 2022 program by Analyst IAS, wherein you can get help for polity, essay, public administration, and ethics. Do check out the details given over here and apply soon to improve your scores in the mains examination and also to avail the early bird discount. Now, why it is in news? So, Russia is announcing its withdrawal from International Space Station project after 2024. Moscow Space Agency ROSCOSMOS newly appointed chief Yuri Borisov announced the decision yesterday. President Vladimir Putin was also briefed about it. The announcement comes as tensions rage between Kremlin and West over Moscow's military operation in Ukraine and several rounds of unprecedented sanctions against Russia. Yuri Borisov also told Putin that in spite of this decision, space program will continue to get top priority and Russia will start putting together a Russian orbital station before 2024. About space station. The space station or orbital space station is a satellite cum laboratory cum spacecraft which is capable to support humans on board the spacecraft for an extended time varying up to months. It does not have any major landing or propulsion systems. A space station should have docking ports which allows other spacecrafts to dock and transfer crew and other supplies. There can be many reasons to maintain a space station. They are mainly launched for civilian usage, majorly technology and science, but dual purpose to aid military capabilities can't be overlooked. Major space station. Salyut 1. First space station launched by Soviet Union in 1971. Skylab, first United States space station launched by NASA in 1973. Mir, launched by USSR and was functional in low Earth orbit between 1986 to 2001. Then comes in the International Space Station, multinational collaborative project stationed in low Earth orbit, launched in 1998. Tiangong Space Station, it is China's program to create a modular space station. This program is sole venture of China without the help of any other nation. The program began in 1992 as Project 921-2. China is working on large multi-phase construction program as of now. International Space Station. The ISS is a man-made space station or artificial satellite that is habitable for humans in space. It is in the low Earth orbit and there are astronauts living on board the space station conducting experiments on Earth science, biology, biotechnology, astronomy, microgravity, meteorology, physics, etc. The astronauts generally don't live on the station for more than 6 months at a time. The first piece of equipment of the ISS was launched in 1998 and other parts and modules were added and assembled in space at different times. The first crew arrived on the ISS in 2000 and since then it has always been manned by astronauts. The ISS was developed and built by 5 space agencies, namely NASA, USA, ROSCOSMOS, Russia, European Space Agency, ESA, Europe, JAXA, Japan, and the Canadian Space Agency, CSA, Canada. The ISS is usually at an altitude between 200 km and 400 km and weighs more than 4 lakh kg. It is 73 meter long and 109 meter wide. The ISS orbits the Earth at about 5 miles per second and makes 15.5 orbits per day. It takes roughly 93 minutes for the ISS to make the revolution around the Earth. How ISS has benefited Earth. Commercializing low Earth orbit. For the first time in history of mankind, the market is expressing its intent towards what research can be conducted aboard under microgravity lab without any government help. Rather, the private companies are investing and raising capital to provide laboratory facilities for small payloads and CubeSats, which is bound to make research faster, efficient and affordable. Growing higher quality protein crystals, microgravity allows for optimal growth of the unique and complicated crystal structures of proteins, leading to the development of medical treatments, hematopoietic prostaglandin D synthase, which may hold the key to developing useful drugs for treating muscular dystrophy, is an example of a protein that was successfully crystallized in space. Bringing space station ultrasound to the ends of the Earth, doctors are taking up techniques originally developed for space station astronauts and adapting them for use in Earth's farthest corners by developing protocols for performing complex procedures rapidly with remote expert guidance and training. Improving eye surgery with space hardware, the eye tracking device experiment gave researchers insight into how humans' frames of reference, balance, and the overall control of eye movement are affected by weightlessness. Now the engineers have realized that this gadget also has utility on Earth among general public. Understanding mechanism of osteoporosis, scientists conducted a study of mice in orbit to understand mechanisms of osteoporosis. Due to this research, the Prolia was developed on Earth to treat people with osteoporosis, a direct benefit of pharmaceutical companies using the spaceflight opportunities available via Space Lab to improve health on Earth. Providing students opportunities to conduct their own science in space, ISS conducts various projects like YouTube Space Lab Competition, the Student Spaceflight Experiments Program, and SPHERES Zero Robotics. These type of inquiry-based projects allow students to be involved in human space exploration with the goal of stimulating their studies of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Monitoring water quality from space, hyperspectral imager for the coastal ocean HICO was an imaging sensor that helped detect water quality parameters such as water clarity, phytoplanktons concentration, light absorption and distribution of cyanobacteria. Monitoring natural disasters from space, International Space Station has captured photographs of Earth from space, which has provided tremendous aid during disaster management and developing disaster management techniques beforehand. Russia's role in maintaining this international space station. Russia's part in the collaboration is the module responsible for making course corrections to the orbit of ISS. Further, the Russian segment ensures that the space station's orbit is corrected to keep it away from space debris roughly 11 times a year. It is also ferry astronauts to ISS from the Earth and back. Impact of Russia's withdrawal. Due to its enormous weight and ensuing drag, the ISS tends to sink from its orbit at a height of about 250 miles above the Earth. It has to be pushed up to its original line of motion every now and then. Russia's withdrawing from the segment of ISS cooperation spacecraft could affect correcting the orbit of the ISS. This meant the ISS could fall into the sea or on the land. ISS would likely crash down on some country, but most probably not Russia itself. The orbit of ISS does not fly over Russian territory mostly. However, dropping of ISS poses a greater risk to regions that are closer to equator, but this is only a probability as it can move or disintegrate. In case of this eventuality, people in the ISS will be brought back. Modules can be detached, thereby making it much smaller, which will ensure that it disintegrates before touching the Earth. The ISS is made up of two primary segments, one managed by NASA and the other by ROSCOSMOS. The S segment, as it is known, features four huge NASA-supplied solar wings, two on each end of a truss as long as a football field, complex cooling systems, computer networks, high-speed communications systems, and 10 pressurized modules. The US segment also features 4 docking ports that can accommodate Northrop Grumman, Cygnus cargo shipments, Japanese HTV freighters, SpaceX Dragon crew and cargo ships, and Boeing's Starliner crew ferry craft. The back section of the station, made up of 6 pressurized compartments, is operated by 4 Russian docking ports, are currently used by Progress cargo ships and Soyuz crew ferry vehicles. One of those, known as Zarya, connects the US and Russian segments. It was paid for by NASA but is operated by Russia. Russia provides the propellant and thrusters needed to keep the outpost in orbit, while NASA provides most of the station's electric power, satellite communications, and day-to-day stability provided by 4 massive gyroscopes. Now let's talk about ROS. Russia will launch its own space station in space and has named it ROS, Russian Orbital Service Station, which is seen as a new threat in technology lead space diplomacy, countering International Space Station. From ROS, the astronauts can gaze whole of the territory of Russia, unlike the ISS, from which they can see only 20% of the territory. It can be fitted with Earth observation transponders and will keep an eye on northern sea route. ROS will be a specialized industrial space station. It will have production compartments that will allow it to perform a number of new tasks that are not available on the ISS. ROS will include a so-called slipway module on which it will be possible to park various types of automatic spacecraft and satellites, repair them, refuel them, adjust the payload, and then send them back to the autonomous flight. ROSCOSMOS envisages to create a fleet of tugs attached to ROS that will be able to launch these satellites from station into the right orbit. So these were all the segments as far as the news was concerned. Now let's get to the prelims practice question. What is the purpose of Evolved Laser Interferometer Space Antenna ELISA project? Your options are A. To detect neutrinos, B. To detect gravitational waves, C. To detect effectiveness of missile defense system, and D. To study the effect of solar flares on our communication systems. You need to pick the correct option and put it in the comment box. The mains practice question for today is write a note on the International Space Station. You need to answer this particular question in 150 words and send in your answers to us on WhatsApp to get it reviewed. This is it for today. I shall see you again tomorrow. Till then, take care and stay tuned.